Bologna, June 15, 1983. The oppressive heat of the summer clung to the old city like a second skin, but on Via del Riccio a cool stillness prevailed, a quiet so eerie it felt unnatural. The narrow alleyway, more like a forgotten crack in the city, seemed to harbour secrets too dark to see the light of day. Inside a second-floor apartment, hidden behind ivy-clad walls and tall wooden shutters, something far more sinister was brewing. Neighbours who passed by this apartment daily had started whispering. For days, no one had seen the occupant, a woman of great promise but even greater mysteries. Francesca Alinovi, a renowned art critic and avant-garde intellectual, was not one to go unnoticed. Her phone rang endlessly. Friends grew worried, knocking on her door to no avail. And finally, after days of eerie silence, concern turned into panic. They called the police. The air inside the apartment was stale, the atmosphere thick with something more than the oppressive heat. Officers slowly climbed the stairs to the second floor, where the faint scent of decay hit them like a punch. It wasn't until they pushed open the door to the bedroom that they truly understood the gravity of the situation. There, amidst the disarray of what was once a charmingly cluttered space, lay the body of Francesca Alinovi. Her face obscured by pillows, her body twisted at an unnatural angle, and the dark, congealed blood that covered her pale skin told a horrifying story. 47 stab wounds, yet no sign of struggle, no sign of a fight for life. The wounds weren't delivered with rage. It was almost clinical, detached, except for one fatal blow to her throat. It was this wound, as precise as a surgical incision, that had ended her life. The only sign of any emotion, perhaps, was the way her face had been covered, as if the killer couldn't bear to look. Strangely, there were no signs of forced entry, no signs of struggle. It was as if the killer had been someone she knew. On the bathroom cabinet opposite the sink mirror, written in broken English, were the words, "You're not alone anyway." At first glance, it seemed like a strange message of comfort, but investigators soon realized it had a darker meaning. In the street slang of New York, it meant, "I tricked you." The cryptic message only deepened the mystery. A pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses were also found in the bathroom, one lens missing. These glasses didn't belong to Francesca, raising questions about who might have left them behind. The police began focusing on Francesca's inner circle as the artistic community and Francesca's students. To understand the crime, one must first understand the woman who was lost. Francesca Alinovi was no ordinary woman. Born in 1948 in Parma, she grew up with an intense curiosity about the world, an obsession with art, philosophy, and the human condition that carried her into the avant-garde circles of Italy's art scene. By the time she reached her 30s, she was already a prominent critic, pushing boundaries with her intellectual vigor and unflinching passion for the unconventional. Her work brought her to places few dared to go. New York in the 1980s, the epicenter of raw, explosive street art. Francesca didn't just observe, she immersed herself in the underground world of graffiti artists, performers, and rebels. She was a woman drawn to chaos, to the broken beauty of human expression. She found a particular fascination with the ephemeral, art that existed only for a moment before vanishing forever. Francesca was a woman of contradictions. On the outside, she appeared confident, brilliant, and untouchable. But her diaries told a different story. Pages filled with emotional turmoil, revealing a woman who was as fragile as the art she admired. "I feel as though I'm already dead," she once wrote, her words laced with the existential despair that followed her throughout her life. "Art is the only thing that keeps me here, but even that is fleeting." Her personal life, like her professional one, was unconventional. She sought connections that were as volatile as they were passionate. As investigators began to piece together the events leading to Francesca's death, they found themselves confronting more questions than answers. There were no signs of forced entry, no items of value missing, no struggle. Whoever had done this was either welcomed in or had a key. The autopsy report estimated the time of death to be sometime between 3 and 6 p.m. on June 12th. But Francesca hadn't been found until 3 days later. Why hadn't anyone noticed sooner? Her friends, her colleagues. Why had it taken them so long to realize something was wrong? She knew her killer. There's no other explanation. It wasn't long before one name surfaced again and again during the investigation: Francesco Ciancabilla. A young artist, charismatic yet elusive, 10 years her junior. Francesco was something of an enigma in Bologna's art world, a man both admired and mistrusted. He had been romantically involved with Francesca for 2 tumultuous years. Their relationship was a storm, a force of nature. Francesca had described it as a kind of creative symbiosis, a meeting of minds. But there was also something darker, something far more dangerous beneath the surface. They met in the winter of 1981 at a gallery opening in Rome. Francesca had been captivated by Francesco's raw talent, his ability to channel emotion into abstract expression. Their connection was immediate, and for Francesca it was a kind of love she hadn't known before. But for Francesco, the lines between muse and lover were always blurred. In the beginning, there was passion. Long nights spent in dimly lit cafes discussing art, philosophy, life. Francesco would sit across from Francesca, his eyes burning with intensity, his hands restless with creativity. Francesca was 10 years older, more established, more certain of what she wanted. Francesco, on the other hand, was a restless soul, always searching for something more, something just beyond reach. Their relationship was volatile. There were arguments, followed by periods of intense reconciliation. Francesca was in love, perhaps obsessed, but Francesco, he was always distant, always withholding something. Her diaries are filled with haunting confessions of a woman desperate to keep him close, yet unable to bridge the emotional chasm between them. "He is my mirror," she wrote, "and yet I feel like I don't exist in his reflection." As investigators sifted through the fragments of Francesca's life, they began to uncover the cracks in her relationship with Francesco. Friends described him as charming, but manipulative. Someone who could captivate a room with his art, but who left chaos in his wake. On that fateful day, Ciancabilla claimed he spent the afternoon at Francesca's, indulging in cocaine before leaving her home at 7:30 p.m. He called a friend to arrange meeting at Bologna train station for heroin, a detail that checked out. But the investigation quickly took a turn when police established that Francesca's murder occurred between 6:45 p.m. and 7:55 p.m., with her last phone call ending at 5:30 p.m. To make matters worse for Ciancabilla, Francesca's watch stopped at 6:12 p.m., suggesting he was still with her when the fatal blow struck. As the story unfolded, a cryptic message found in the bathroom was traced back to a friend of Francesca's who had an alibi. Despite the shaky evidence, Ciancabilla was arrested on June 21st. The trial, which kicked off on January 3rd, 1985, ended in an unexpected acquittal. But the plot thickened when an appeal based on circumstantial evidence led to his conviction and a 15-year sentence, later reduced to 10 years. Before serving time, he fled to Spain, living under a false identity until his capture in 1997. Returned to Italy, he served his sentence, always proclaiming his innocence, before finally being released in 2006. But the questions surrounding Francesca's murder remain. Was Francesco truly responsible, or is there more to the story? The watch, the sunglasses, the eerie writing, all these clues still linger, shrouding the truth of that June evening. Thank you for joining us. If you're drawn to mysteries like this, be sure to subscribe for more gripping episodes. Stay aware, and most importantly, stay safe.